Welcome, dear subscribers and curious listeners of my channel. Today, we once again open the dusty box of secrets from the wizarding world. This time, it's about wands, those very tools that guide spells, save lives, kill, betray, and choose. A wand may appear to be nothing more than a simple wooden branch, but inside it holds memory, will, and destiny. Yes, we know the wand chooses the wizard, but that's only the beginning. Did you know that a wand can remember your mistakes? That not everyone has the right to even hold one? That you can cast spells without it, but at a deadly risk? Today we'll explore everything hidden between the lines, beyond Hogwarts, and far past the pages of any book. Enjoy the video. Number 1, a wand has a mind of its own. The most unsettling truth? A wand is not just a tool, it's like a living being. It doesn't speak, but it remembers. It doesn't think, but it reacts. It doesn't love, but it chooses. When Ollivander says the wand chooses the wizard, he means it quite literally. And it's not just about that first connection in the shop. A wand learns. It adapts to your casting style, it aids you in battle. It can even intervene, just as Harry Potter's wand did when it repelled Voldemort's attack on its own in the Deathly Hallows. That's not spell work, that's loyalty. That's instinct. That's the hidden life of wood and core. Number 2, wand wizard compatibility makes magic flow. Ever wonder why Neville struggled so much with magic in the early books? Simple. He was using his father's wand, a borrowed magical channel, a borrowed story, a borrowed path. But in The Half-Blood Prince, when he finally gets a wand of his own, it's as if he becomes someone else entirely. The magic flows freely, calmly, without resistance. It's like tuning a violin. You can make noise with one that's out of tune, but a properly tuned instrument sings on its own. Number 3, both core and wood matter. The flesh and the soul, the shell and the essence. That's what makes each wand unique. The 3 most well-known cores: phoenix feather, rare, fiercely independent; unicorn hair, loyal, dependable, but not adventurous; dragon heartstring, powerful but hard to tame. There are rarer ones too: velar hair, troll whisker, thestral tail hair. Wands with these cores are difficult to master, but possess unpredictable strength. And the wood, it's like skin, it touches the world. Strong intuition often pairs with oak. Apple wood is said to reject dark magic. Aspen? Chosen by duelists. It's no coincidence that the Silver Spears dueling club once accepted only those who owned aspen wands. Number 4. Many magical creatures are forbidden to use wands. In the wizarding world, a wand is not just a tool, so it's a privilege. House elves perform wandless magic, sometimes more efficiently than human wizards, but goblins are forbidden. Their magic is older, different, but they're denied access to the artifacts of wand users. This restriction has caused more than one goblin rebellion. To them, this isn't merely injustice, it's an insult. And perhaps they have a point. Number 5, Muggles cannot use magic wands. A wand is not a battery, it doesn't contain magic, it directs it, and Muggles simply don't have any. Sometimes a Muggle might accidentally activate a residual spell lingering in a wand. It's like pulling the trigger of a loaded gun without knowing what's inside. Dangerous, chaotic, unconscious. Some Muggles have even died trying to play with a discarded wand, because the wand senses the stranger and reacts. Number 6, wands are not always required for magic. Picture a wizard without a wand. Sounds absurd. Yet Dumbledore, Grindelwald, Voldemort all could cast spells without one. The wand is a conduit, a channel, a lens. It amplifies and directs the innate magic, but the true power lies within the wizard. That's why ancient legends tell of sorcerers who controlled storms with a single word. No wood, no core. It's rare. It's an art. It's dangerous. Number 7, wand length does not depend on height. It may be surprising, but a tall witch might carry a short wand, and a tiny wizard a very long one. Ollivander believes that wand length reflects character, not size. Long wands tend to choose bold, expressive personalities. Short wands prefer those who are quiet, precise, and confident. It's a matter of style, not centimeters, like choosing a quill for a writer or a bow for an archer. Number 8. Twin wands have a unique connection. Twin wands are a rare magical event, not just similar, identical in heart. Harry Potter's wand and Voldemort's shared the same phoenix feather. A single feather from Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, gave life to both. That bond ran deeper than anyone expected. It wasn't just symbolic, it was dangerous. When the two wands clashed in the graveyard in Goblet of Fire, they refused to fight properly. The magic twisted. It locked them in a golden thread of light. Priori incantatum, Dumbledore called it, reverse spell effect. The wands forced into a duel did not destroy. Instead, Voldemort's wand coughed up ghosts, echoes of Cedric Diggory, Frank Bryce, even James and Lily Potter. They emerged from the wand's memory, not the afterlife. "Hold on, Harry," his father said. "You're nearly there." This wasn't a spell, it was the magic of connection. The twin wands recognized each other. They couldn't truly fight. Later, Voldemort sensed it too. His wand failed him. It recoiled. That's why he sought the Elder Wand, to break the bond. But bonds made by phoenixes don't break easily. The feather remembers, the wand remembers, and sometimes memory is more powerful than any curse. Number 9. Wands inherit their owner's character. A wand grows with its master. It learns, adapts, absorbs moods, tempers, instincts. Over time, it reflects not just magical skill, but personality. Quiet wizards produce calm wands. Reckless wizards spark wild ones. A wand isn't fixed. It evolves, like a mirror that remembers what it sees. That's why hand-me-down wands rarely work well. Ron Weasley knew this. His first wand, a 12-inch ash with unicorn hair, came from his brother, Charlie. It wasn't meant for Ron. It snapped in Chamber of Secrets, but it had already betrayed him many times before, misfiring, backfiring, failing at key moments. Spells backfired. It never seemed to do what I wanted, Ron once admitted. The wand hadn't chosen him. It didn't know him. It remembered Charlie. When Ron finally got his own wand, Willow with a unicorn hair core, everything changed. His magic sharpened, spells landed clean, confidence returned. It wasn't just the wood or the core, it was the bond. That wand saw Ron for who he was. And once it chose him, it became an extension of his will. That's the secret. A wand doesn't just serve, it reflects. Number 10. Special wands have unique powers. Some wands are not just tools, they're legends. The Elder Wand is the most famous of all. Made of elder wood with a core of thestral tail hair, it's one of the 3 Deathly Hallows, said to be unbeatable, said to obey only the wizard who truly conquered its last master. But even its power has limits. When Voldemort wielded it, the wand resisted. "The wand resists me," he growled in the Deathly Hallows, because it did not belong to him. Its loyalty was elsewhere, quietly beating in Harry's hand. Lucius Malfoy's wand was special for another reason. It wasn't known for raw power, it was known for elegance. A wand of elm with a dragon heartstring core, concealed inside a serpent-handled cane. It was both weapon and statement. Lucius didn't carry a wand like others. He carried authority, status, wealth. His wand was a symbol. But when Voldemort took it, the cane was cast aside, the wand stripped of pride. "Lucius's wand is weaker than mine," Voldemort noted coldly. "Symbols don't always survive humiliation." Other wands are protected with enchantments, spells that prevent them from breaking, being stolen, or even being seen. Dumbledore's wand glowed with ancient runes. Rumors say some auras had wands that could return to them if lost. These features aren't standard, they're rare, custom work, built for wizards who understand that a wand is more than magic. It's identity, legacy, and protection all at once. Number 11. A wand can burn out. A wand can burn out. It happens slowly, spell by spell. Each time the magic is forced beyond its limit, something inside the wand weakens, the flow becomes erratic, the tip stutters. Then one day, nothing comes out at all. This is wand burnout, and it's more common than people think, especially among those who seek power instead of harmony. Bellatrix Lestrange was rumoured to have burned through 3 wands before Voldemort gave her a 4th. She pushed them too hard. Curses like Crucio and Avada Kedavra leave marks, not just on the victim, but on the wand that casts them. Ollivander once said the wand reflects the soul. If the soul is violent, the wand will fracture, crack, fade, not visibly but from within. Eventually it becomes just a stick of wood hollow of magic. Dark wizards know this. They treat wands like weapons, not companions. Voldemort changed wands several times, even before seeking the Elder Wand. He felt it, his U-wand losing force. "My wand performed inadequately," he admitted coldly in The Deathly Hallows. He blamed the wand, but the truth, the wand had given all it could, and it had nothing left. Number 12. Wands feel the loss of their owner. Some wands die with their masters. It's not a myth. Magic runs deeper than spellwork. A wand and its owner share something invisible, a bond formed over years of casting, trusting, and growing together. When that connection is severed by death, the wand can react. It might fall silent, it might resist being held. In the worst cases, it breaks on its own, as if mourning. There's a story in Ollivander's records. A young witch named Helena Rowan was killed in a duel during the Goblin Rebellions. Her wand, elm with unicorn hair, was retrieved by her brother. He tried to use it, thinking it would keep her close. But the wand refused. It wouldn't cast a single charm. Days later, it splintered while lying untouched on a desk. Ollivander later wrote, "Some wands grieve. This one, I believe, wept." We see shadows of this in the main books too. When Dumbledore dies, the Elder Wand remains in his tomb, untouched. Voldemort doesn't dare use it outright. He steals it. But it resists him. It knows. "The wand resists me," he hisses in the Deathly Hallows. He can feel the disloyalty, the refusal. Even the most powerful wand in the world hesitates after its master is gone. Magic, at its core, is emotion, pain, loyalty, memory. A wand doesn't simply obey commands, it echoes its master's spirit. When that spirit is lost, something in the wand dims. That's why wizards speak of wand death in hushed voices, not because it's superstition, but because it's true. A wand may survive the death of its owner, but it never remains unchanged. Number 13. Repairing a wand is complex and risky. Wand repair is not like mending a broken teacup. Simple spells like reparo work on most objects, but wands resist. Their magic is alive, it breathes with memory and instinct. Trying to fix a broken wand with ordinary means is like forcing together 2 halves of a soul. It might look whole, but inside it's cracked, and magic knows. Faulty repairs lead to surges, sparks, even explosions. The wand may refuse to obey, or worse, it may backfire. Harry learned this the hard way. In the Deathly Hallows, his trusty holly and phoenix feather wand is snapped in 2 during a battle with Nagini. The wand had broken cleanly in 2, the book says, and only the thread of phoenix feather kept the pieces together. He tries to fix it himself, a whisper of reparo. But nothing happens. The wand remains broken, lifeless in his hands. For Harry, that wand had been a friend. Losing it was like losing part of himself. It took the Elder Wand to change that. After defeating Voldemort, Harry uses the legendary wand, not for power, not for revenge, but for healing. He laid the broken wand upon the headmaster's desk, tapped it once with the Elder Wand, and said, "Reparo!" The Holy Wand mended itself, whole and strong again. No other wand could have done it. Only the Elder Wand, a wand forged with death and loyalty, held enough power to restore another completely. It wasn't just magic, it was the right kind of magic. Most wizards never risk it. Wand repair is dangerous, unpredictable. Even Ollivander avoids it. Instead, they buy new ones, hoping to bond again. But some never do, because no matter how fine the new wand, never quite replaces the old one, the one that grew with them, fought with them, bled with them. A broken wand is a scar, one not easily erased. Number 14 wands can show false loyalty. Wand loyalty is a fragile thing. A wand may bend to a new master when its previous owner has been disarmed, defeated, or killed. But that obedience isn't always true allegiance. Often the wand is simply responding to force, not to connection. It may perform spells, but the results are weak, unstable, or strangely inconsistent. The wand acts like a borrowed tool, not an extension of the soul. Draco Malfoy's wand is the clearest example. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Harry takes Draco's wand during the skirmish at Malfoy Manor. From that moment on, the wand obeys Harry. "It's mine now," Harry says quietly, testing it in his hand. The spells work. The wand flickers with power, but something's off. It doesn't feel quite natural. It takes time and a deep magical shift before the wand fully commits, and this false loyalty shows up again during the final battle. Voldemort tries to use the Elder Wand, convinced that killing Snape will give him true ownership. But the wand resists. It doesn't respond the way he expects. He doesn't realize the true chain of allegiance runs through Draco to Harry. Harry, who won Draco's wand. Harry, who never sought power but gained it anyway. "The wand chooses the wizard," Ollivander once said, not the other way around. Until a wand truly accepts its new master, it holds back. It remembers. Magic, in this world, is personal. A spell might work, but it won't sing. It won't pulse with confidence and instinct. Like a loyal animal testing a new handler, the wand waits, and sometimes it refuses to give its heart again. Number 15, a wand can take revenge. In the shadowy corners of the Hogwarts library, far beyond the bustling rows of neatly shelved textbooks, lies a locked cabinet of rare manuscripts and forgotten tales. Few students have reason or permission to venture there, but among the yellowing pages of magical history, one account continues to echo with quiet warning. The story of Alden Avery, a Slytherin student whose ambition cost him more than house points. He was not evil, merely reckless, and believed that magic was a tool to be bent, broken, and wielded at will. What he did not understand was that some tools can bend back. Alden was the son of a minor pure-blood family, known more for their arrogance than their accomplishments. At the age of 15, he was already bored with standard curriculum and sought something more potent than charms and potions. He became fascinated with forbidden magic. Textbooks like Magic Most Evil vanished from the restricted section during his nightly visits. But Alden's problem wasn't a lack of knowledge, it was his wand. A 10-inch elm with a unicorn hair core, light and precise but temperamentally cold to his experiments. It often sputtered in his hands when provoked to darker work, and Alden, in his frustration, began to see the wand as an obstacle rather than a companion. That was when he noticed Roderick Burke, a Ravenclaw boy who possessed an especially lively wand, with dragon heartstring. Burke had a natural ease with magic, his spells smooth and decisive, even aggressive. He was quiet, kept to himself, and never bragged. Alden, who watched him duel in the courtyard one October afternoon, saw a weapon instead of a peer. That night he slipped into the Ravenclaw dormitory using a disillusionment charm and stole the wand from under Burke's pillow. It was an act of cowardice, but one that felt thrilling. The wand, sleek and polished with years of use, seemed to pulse with power in Alden's grip. The change was immediate. His spells struck sharper, even in the dead of night, practicing in the abandoned classrooms of the castle's 7th floor. For days he pushed the limits of magical behavior, attempting to summon spirits, manipulate memories, and craft hexes he found scrawled in the margins of ancient grimoires. But the wand, Roderick's wand, was not his. It obeyed, reluctantly at first, then with increasing resistance. Spells began to falter. The energy of the wand felt off balance. By the third week, Alden began to experience strange flickers, brief pulses of heat in his fingers, as though the wand resented his touch. It happened during one of his midnight sessions, when he attempted to cast Obliviate on a portrait that had seen too much. The spell surged with unexpected force and then, with a sudden, searing backlash, exploded in his hand. A burning pain shot through his arm as the wand emitted a jet of white-hot light, flinging him across the classroom. Alden struck the stone wall with a crack that left him unconscious until dawn. When he awoke, the wand lay beside him, splintered along the shaft, its core exposed and glowing faintly red. Madame Pomfrey treated him for first-degree magical burns along his palm. He lied about the cause, claiming he had miscast a fire-making charm, but the professors were not fooled. Professor Flitwick, inspecting the wrecked wand, murmured, "This wand resisted him. It fought back." Headmaster Dumbledore, in his usual calm yet heavy voice, confirmed that the wand did not accept Alden as its master. There was talk among the faculty that the wand, remembering its rightful owner, had avenged itself, not out of morality, but out of magical instinct. Wands, according to Garrick Ollivander, are not just tools, but semi-sentient conduits of power. In the Wandlore Diaries, he wrote, "No wand truly forgets the hand that first made it sing. It may serve another, but only rarely does it do so willingly." The notion that a wand could lash out in protection of its previous owner was seen as extreme, even among wand-makers. Yet the incident with Alden Avery became one of the few documented cases that supported the theory. Roderick Burke, who had woken to find his wand missing, was quiet about the matter. He never reported Alden, never demanded justice, but those who knew him claimed he began to carry a new wand thereafter, blackthorn with phoenix feather, though he often stared at the broken remains of his first, as if remembering a friend lost to betrayal. The old wand had not returned to him, but it had acted in his name. This was not the first time such an event had occurred in the hidden lore of Hogwarts. In 1743, a Hufflepuff girl named Isadora Bloom suffered nearly identical injuries after seizing her sister's wand during a jealous quarrel. The wand, sycamore with unicorn hair, discharged a hex of such power that it temporarily blinded her. The incident was written off as a fluke, but in retrospect many scholars see parallels. The wand, already attuned to a gentle and patient soul, responded violently when forced into the hand of someone driven by anger. The essence of wand loyalty runs deeper than even the most experienced wizards admit. While the Elder Wand is the most famous case of a wand changing allegiance through conquest, most ordinary wands are far more subtle. They respond to compatibility, not just in skill, but in temperament. A wand that has known kindness and care will not easily tolerate cruelty. A wand that has shared triumph will not submit to treachery without protest. This is not morality in the human sense. It is instinct, the echo of the magical creature from which its core was drawn. Professor Snape once remarked, "Wands are vain things, they remember." The remark, overheard by students during a defense against the dark arts class, was dismissed by many as sarcasm, but it echoes something deeper. The memory of a wand is not chronological, it is emotional. It remembers fear, it remembers reverence, it remembers loyalty, and in rare moments it remembers betrayal enough to retaliate. Number 16, Ollivander, has his own wand classification. Of all the curious features that define the world of wizardry, few are as intricately misunderstood as the true nature of wands. When Harry Potter first stepped into Ollivander's on Diagon Alley, the humble little shop seemed a chaotic sanctuary of wood and magic. Dust danced through the sunlight, and countless boxes teetered in precarious stacks. What Harry didn't know, and what most witches and wizards never discover, is that Garrick Ollivander does not simply sort his wares by wooden core. The neat, oiled labels bearing inscriptions like Holly 11, Phoenix Feather, are only the beginning. Beneath this simple system lies a private classification, a coded language that only Ollivander fully understands. His secret is temperament. The master wand-maker has long insisted that wands possess an intelligence of their own. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, he tells Harry, "The wand chooses the wizard." That much has always been clear to those of us who have studied wand lore. But what Ollivander does not openly reveal is that wands, much like humans, develop personalities. He has catalogued them, not only their technical composition, but their behavior, preferences, and emotional contours. To Ollivander, a wand is not simply a tool, but a living entity that may be fiercely loyal, secretive, melancholic, or ambitious. He jots down these qualities in a thick, charmed ledger, kept under enchantments behind his workbench, a book that no apprentice has ever glimpsed. Among the earliest recorded temperaments is that of a particularly stubborn wand made of blackthorn with a dragon heartstring core measuring 13 inches. According to Ollivander's notes, the wand refuses obedience under pressure and dislikes direct confrontation unless roused. He first sold it in 1976 to a young wizard from Yorkshire who specialized in magical creature training. The wand allegedly caused an explosion during a confrontation with a rogue griffin. Later recovered after the boy's death, the wand spent 15 years in a high shelf, far from others. Ollivander claims the wand once vibrated violently when stored next to an arrogant vinewood wand. He moved it immediately. To the casual observer, these incidents might seem like exaggerations, perhaps even madness. But Ollivander insists that these patterns repeat over decades. In one particular case, a chestnut wand with a unicorn hair core was labelled sympathetic and loyal to a fault. The wand belonged to a Muggle-born witch named Eleanor Carver, who died in the First Wizarding War. When the wand was returned to the shop, Ollivander stored it near other empathetic wands. To his astonishment, he noted that its wood retained a curious warmth, which seemed to diminish whenever it was near a cold yew wand he labelled calculating and prone to secrecy. He wrote, "Chestnut wand lost lustre after 1 month near yew, recovered tone when relocated beside willow wand, marked gentle." One of the most intriguing examples in Ollivander's hidden taxonomy is a wand made of laurel and phoenix feather. Laurel, according to wand lore, refuses to perform dishonourable acts. Ollivander classified this particular wand as righteous, sharp-tempered, and unforgiving of betrayal. In 1981, he sold it to a Hogwarts student named Marius Burke. After Burke was expelled for illegal use of dark magic, the wand was returned, by force, it's rumoured. Ollivander noted the wand had become uncooperative and violently reactive to lies. It reportedly burned the hand of a ministry official who tried to use it in testing. Since then, Ollivander has stored it in a sealed drawer beside a wand labelled mournful and self-contained, crafted from ebony with a thestral tail hair core. Though these classifications are known only to him, they explain certain quirks observed in the shop's layout. Why are some shelves 3 feet apart while others are crammed close together? Why are certain wands never stored above eye level? The answer lies in harmony, or the lack thereof. Wands with conflicting temperaments have been known to rattle in their boxes, shake the shelves, and even release sparks. One recorded event in 1992 involved a vinewood wand marked jealous, placed next to a hawthorn wand tagged favoured. Ollivander awoke to a fire in the upper gallery, caused, he believes, by a spontaneous duel between the wands. He now stores the vinewood wand inside a lead-lined compartment. A unique case worth mentioning is a wand Ollivander sold in 1983, dogwood, with a dragon heartstring core, described as mischievous, unpredictable, and easily bored. The wand's owner, a spell inventor named Rufus McClare, frequently complained that the wand performed spells of its own design, sometimes altering charms mid-incantation. Once, when McClare attempted a simple lumos, the wand instead emitted a blinding flare and conjured dancing lights that refused to vanish for hours. Ollivander noted that the wand exhibited behaviour associated with a trickster profile. After Maclaire's death, the wand was returned. No buyer since has been compatible with it. In an incident that made Ollivander uneasy for years, he encountered a wand that he later labelled Vindictive, crafted from walnut with a basilisk scale core, an experiment he never repeated. It was sold to a warlock from the continent. The wand later resurfaced in Nocturne Alley under dubious circumstances. According to records, it had been used in at least 3 cases of magical assault. Upon recovering it, Ollivander found the wand tainted, its core unstable. He buried it in the forest beyond Ottery St. Catchpole, unwilling to let it rest among others. In his private notes, he wrote, "Too dangerous, a soul trapped in wood." Not all temperaments are malevolent or unstable. Some wands Ollivander considers harmonizers, like a pearwood wand with a unicorn hair core used by a healer named Laetitia Pruett. The wand was classified as soothing, attuned to pain, and quick to heal. Patients reportedly felt calmer in its presence, even when not being cast upon. When Laetitia died of old age, Ollivander kept the wand not for resale, but as a reference model. He still uses it when crafting wands meant for mediwitches or caretakers. It rests on a velvet stand, wrapped in silk. Number 17, crafting a wand, can take months. Every wand that has ever channeled a spell began its life not as an object, but as a vision. Wand lore is one of the most mysterious branches of magical craftsmanship, layered with intuition, age-old wisdom, and ineffable sensitivity to magical forces. It is often assumed that a wand is simply wood, carved into shape and paired with a magical core, yet the truth is far deeper. The creation of a wand is a ritual, long, delicate, and fraught with moments of trial and subtle triumph. It can take weeks. Sometimes it takes months, and in the rarest of cases it may demand years. The process begins with the selection of wood, but even this initial step is not as simple as it seems. The wood must not only come from a magical tree, it must consent to be used. Some wand-makers, like Garrick Ollivander, have described how the essence of a tree can resist the transformation, resulting in brittle or wild wands. "Wandwood has its own personality," he once noted. "It may look like ash, but within lies a spirit. One must ask, and one must listen." In the tales of Beadle the Bard, there's an obscure mention of a wand tree grove, tended by a solitary wizard who listened to the groaning of the trees at night before deciding which would yield a wand. The process is about communion, not exploitation. Once the wood has been chosen, say elder, hawthorn, or blackthorn, it must be seasoned. Freshly cut wood is too green, too alive in a volatile way. The magic within it is unshaped, chaotic, and will not bond well with a core. Wand makers must dry it carefully, neither too fast nor too slow. A drying chamber enchanted to mimic the natural rhythms of the seasons is used by the Ollivander family. The elder Mr. Ollivander's notes, found in a private collection now kept at the British Museum of Wizarding History, mention that hawthorn in particular should be rotated during the third moon phase, lest the bitterness of the wood grow stagnant. A rushed wand is a dead wand. The selection of the core is a matter of equal weight and mystery. While phoenix feathers, dragon heartstrings, and unicorn hairs are the most commonly used in British wand making, there exist many other options: Vela hair, thunderbird feathers, or even rune spore fangs. Each carries different affinities and temperaments, but it is not just about what magical creature donated the part. It is about when. A unicorn hair taken in spring, gently shed and caught on first bloom, is vastly different from a winter-shed strand laced with sorrow. Ollivander believed that phoenix feather cores were capricious because phoenixes only shed feathers at deeply significant moments, like grief, sacrifice, or revelation. The memory of that moment lives on in the wand. When both elements are ready, the true work begins. The wand maker must carve the wood with utter precision, but the tool matters more than one would think. No mundane blade can be used, Ollivander, used a silver-etched wand knife blessed in moonlight. Other artisans use goblin-made chisels that hum when passed over magical grain. The wood, already enchanted by age and essence, will resist a careless hand. Wand makers speak of moments where the wood bleeds sap in intricate patterns when displeased. Some see faces, some hear whispering. Next comes the alignment. The core must be introduced not just physically but magically. The wand maker uses a ritual known as the twisting, wherein the wood is gradually opened to cradle the core. This is done by hand, slowly, with whispered incantations, and by heart. The wand maker must feel the heartbeat of both elements, a rhythm that Ollivander described as two stars finding one orbit. If the core is inserted too quickly, the wand may recoil. There are records of wands exploding into splinters or sending shards into the wand maker's eyes. "A wand's birth is like a phoenix's death," wrote wand maker Thaddeus Bexley, "equal parts fire and ash." But even then, the wand is not ready. It must be attuned. This process is deeply individual. Each wand behaves slightly differently, and the wand maker must coax it into stability. Some wands are sleepers. They resist waking. Others are violent, channeling raw magic without control. These must be balanced through a series of tests. The wand is placed in proximity to enchanted objects to see what it repels or absorbs. It is placed near crystals, magical metals, and even living creatures. A unicorn foal once screamed when presented with a prematurely tuned wand made of yew and chimera scale. That wand was dismantled. Tuning also involves music. Some wand makers hum to the wand, others play ancient instruments. A Scottish wand maker, Elspeth McCrory, swore that bagpipes could soothe a particularly moody blackthorn. In her notes, she mentions that a wand attuned to melody gains sensitivity to emotional magic, love charms, calming drafts, healing spells. "You don't teach a wand," she wrote, "you sing it awake." Once a wand responds gently, quivering at spellcast attempts, releasing sparks in harmony. It is ready for testing. But the testing is no mere flick and flash routine. The wand is held near raw magical energy, sometimes near a ley line, sometimes in front of a sleeping magical creature, or even beside a pensive filled with powerful memories. The goal is to see whether the wand holds stable or wavers. If it absorbs too much, it may shatter under stress. If it releases energy unevenly, it is sent back for realignment. Even then, not all wands pass. Some are retired before ever reaching a wizard's hand. Ollivander's back room was filled with such resting wands. One wand made of vine and kelpie hair caused dreams in anyone who held it. Another, a slender fir wand with thunderbird feather, would hum violently at night, drawing storms. Ollivander left that one, buried beneath the roots of a tree, where it still hums to this day. "Some wands don't want owners," he once said. "They want to remember." Number 18. Magic strengthens with the owner's experience. In the quiet, dusty corners of Ollivander's wand shop, the truth was always known, though rarely spoken aloud. Wands were not mere tools to be wielded. They were not like swords, nor even like broomsticks. They were companions, evolving with their owners, responding to time, growth, and hardship. Garrick Ollivander once whispered that a wand's allegiance could shift, yes. But what few understood was that even without switching hands, a wand could change. It could deepen in power, refine its behavior, and become sharper and faster in response to the one who bore it. A wand might be made of dragon heartstring or phoenix feather, but its true core was shaped by time and trust. Minerva McGonagall had used the same wand for decades, 10 inches for dragon heartstring. In her first year as a student, it had trembled in her hand, humming with energy she barely understood. She could perform charms, transfigurations, levitations, but only after practice and guidance. Yet by the time she strode into her transfiguration classroom as deputy headmistress, that same wand responded to her thoughts almost before she formed them. The wand didn't just recognize her magical signature, it anticipated it. Her animagus transformation was flawless, seamless, nearly instantaneous. Not because she was merely brilliant, though she was, but because her wand had grown with her, learned her patterns, and become a silent extension of her formidable will. This phenomenon was not unique to McGonagall. Severus Snape, whose duels were described by many as a kind of violent ballet, moved with an uncanny efficiency that unnerved even seasoned auras. His wand, ebony 12 3/4 inches, dragon heartstring, was like a black needle slicing through the air with cruel precision. The way he cast spells, barely whispering incantations and producing powerful effects, often left students gaping. Yet this wasn't only a testament to Snape's talent. It was also about the bond he had forged with his wand. Years of pushing it to the limits, experimenting with dark magic, brewing, dueling, healing, and defending. It had learned him. It had become attuned to the speed of his thought, the complexity of his inner logic, and the turbulence of his soul. When Harry Potter first held the wand of holly and phoenix feather, he was 11 years old and uncertain. The wand, 11 inches, flexible and warm in his grasp, shone with untested potential. Over time, it became more than a conduit for his magic. It became a partner in his survival. During his first duel with Draco Malfoy, the spells fizzled with immaturity. But during his face-offs with Voldemort, the wand flared with defiant power, sometimes even resisting the Elder Wand itself. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, when Harry was cornered in the graveyard, Voldemort's killing curse clashed against Harry's disarming spell in an eerie beam of light. It wasn't sheer coincidence that priori incantatem occurred. It was the intimate familiarity between Harry and his wand that summoned forth something more ancient and profound than spellwork. The idea that magic becomes stronger with experience is evident in the way spells behave under seasoned hands. Dumbledore once conjured a firestorm with a flick, bending flame like a painter might bend pigment. His wand, the Elder Wand, was undeniably powerful, but even that wand had learned from him. It had been held by others, yes, but in Dumbledore's grasp it became more than unbeatable. It became wise. Spells born from grief, from love, from sacrifice, those left imprints in the wand, invisible but lasting. The wand remembered. Wands develop what might be called a magical memory. Much like how a broomstick becomes attuned to the rider's posture, the wand becomes attuned to emotion, instinct, and rhythm. After years of casting spells for defense, healing, or even humor, the wand begins to anticipate the type of energy channeled through it. This is why Molly Weasley, despite never being a professional duelist, produced such ferocious power during the Battle of Hogwarts. Her wand had spent decades responding to her maternal instincts, shielding her family, hexing kitchen pests, protecting children. When Bellatrix Lestrange dared attack Ginny, the wand responded to that primal force and unleashed a spell as final as death. "Not my daughter, you bitch!" she screamed, and the curse struck with lethal efficiency. It wasn't only her rage that made it deadly, it was the years of loyalty embedded in the wood. Hermione Granger's wand, vine wood with dragon heartstring, was perhaps the most illustrative example of a wand responding to intellect and method. During her time at Hogwarts, she was meticulous. She practiced wand movements again and again, her strokes sharp, her pronunciation exact. Over time, her wand adapted to this discipline. It didn't simply respond to commands, it expected them to be delivered with logic and precision. When Hermione began casting non-verbal spells, the wand transitioned effortlessly as if it had been waiting for the words to fall away. By the time she was infiltrating the Ministry of Magic in disguise, her spells were cast in silence, with fluid grace. Her wand had not just learned her, it had evolved with her. In contrast, Ron Weasley's early misfortunes with his wand, a hand-me-down with a broken core, demonstrated the importance of a personal connection. When he finally received his own wand, willow and unicorn hair, his spellcasting stabilized. The difference was immediate. "It's not you," Professor Flitwick once reassured him. "It's the wand." And he was right. Once matched with a wand that chose him, Ron's confidence surged, and the wand responded in kind. It grew in power as he did, through loyalty, through bravery, through fear and redemption. Wandmakers have long theorized that the synergy between wizard and wand is a two-way street. The wand doesn't merely receive magic, it shapes it. Over time, it begins to prefer certain types of magic, influenced by the owner's habits and temperament. Lupin's wand, for instance, was known for its subtlety and finesse. His magic was rarely flashy, but always precise. It was as if the wand had been trained in compassion, in restraint. He never used it to intimidate, and in return, it never betrayed him with chaotic bursts. Even during the full moon, when his senses threatened to abandon him, the wand remained steady. It remembered who he was, even when he didn't. The deepest power of the wand, however, often awakened during crisis. When Neville Longbottom stood against Voldemort's forces in the final battle, his wand responded with clarity and strength that shocked even him. Having been mocked for clumsy spellwork for years, Neville had grown slowly through small acts of courage. By the time he wielded the sword of Gryffindor, his wand was no longer the instrument of a nervous boy. It was the voice of a warrior. The magic he cast wasn't perfect, but it was powerful because it was honest. His wand, like his heart, had waited for the moment to burn. In the Deathly Hallows, when Draco Malfoy's wand was taken by Harry, it began to shift allegiance. This wasn't just a quirk of loyalty, it was proof that wands observed, measured and judged. They weren't alive in the traditional sense, but their magical cores were not inert. They reacted, they remembered, they made choices. For Draco, who had grown up treating magic as entitlement, the moment his wand failed him was the moment it revealed the absence of trust. His wand could no longer serve a master who doubted himself. The longer a wizard wields a wand, the more fluent the communication becomes. This is why veteran auras like Kingsley Shacklebolt could cast wide-range defensive shields or disarm multiple opponents with a single motion. Years of duels, missions, and fieldwork had created an instinctive relationship between man and wand. The wand, soaked in decades of experience, could respond to subtle flicks, shifts in breath, or the emotion behind the spell. In such hands, even the simplest of spells, like Expelliarmus, could behave like a weapon or a shield, depending on the context. Even nonverbal magic, often considered the mark of a true master, is reliant on this bond. The ability to cast without speech depends on the wand recognizing not just intent, but mood and urgency. For instance, when Sirius Black burst into the Department of Mysteries, his wand responded with speed and aggression. There was no time to chant. There was only instinct, and his wand knew how to answer. The length and wood of a wand might provide clues about its compatibility, but the real strength comes from what is built between spells. A wand that has faced danger beside its owner, endured injury, grief, heartbreak, retains something from those moments. Fleur Delacour's wand with its Viola hair core was fiercely loyal. It flared most beautifully when defending others. The wand had learned what Fleur valued most: love, pride, and fire. During the Second Wizarding War, it cast charms that shimmered with ferocity, as if echoing the Veela's ancestral defiance. Fred and George Weasley's wands became almost musical in their behavior, quick, responsive, joyful. They had been used for invention, trickery, fireworks, and laughter. Their wands had learned to anticipate mischief, which is why their spells were rarely unstable. Even in chaos, they maintained control. When the twins launched their portable swamp in Order of the Phoenix, the magic was seamless. These weren't immature pranksters anymore. Their wands had grown into tools of rebellion. Wands respond not only to power, but to clarity. Luna Lovegood's wand behaved with a dreamy elegance, rarely forceful, but always accurate. Her spells never exploded, they glowed. Her wand had learned from her curiosity, her gentleness, her unwavering belief in the unseen. It understood that magic could be soft and still be strong. When she conjured her Patronus in Half-Blood Prince, it floated like a silver cloud, protective and calm. Her wand was her friend, not her soldier. Ultimately, a wand is only as powerful as the story it shares with its wielder. Magic deepens not with might, but with history. The reason Alastair Moody's wand was feared was not because it was carved from some rare wood, but because it had fought in hundreds of battles. It bore scars just as he did, and it cast spells that were sharp, swift, and brutal because it knew the stakes. It knew that hesitation meant death. Magic, after all, is a form of expression, and like any expression, music, painting, dance, it grows more resonant when practiced with commitment. The wand is the violin, the wizard is the violinist. The music, beautiful or terrifying, depends on how long they've been playing together. When time and trust are woven into the grain of the wood, something miraculous happens. Magic begins to flow not just from the mind, but from memory, emotion, and soul. And that, more than anything, is what makes a great wizard. Number 19, Wands dislike betrayal. Peter Pettigrew had never been the strongest among his peers. Even in his youth, he clung to the shadows of James Potter and Sirius Black, following in their wake with the desperate eagerness of someone who feared being left behind. But where others saw cowardice, something far stranger might have been at play. A fragile thread that bound Pettigrew to the wand he carried, and which, once snapped, echoed with consequences far beyond mortal comprehension. Magic, after all, is not merely a force. It breathes, it judges, and, as some believe, it remembers betrayal. The wizarding world has long whispered that wands choose their owners, a phrase so often repeated that it has become a cliché among first years at Hogwarts. Yet behind that simple saying lies an ancient, unwritten law. Wands are not tools, they are sentient conduits of intention and character. When a wand senses greatness, it responds with power, but when it senses a fracture in the soul, something begins to falter. It hesitates, it resists, and sometimes it turns away altogether. Peter's fall from grace did not begin with a single act of betrayal, but rather a slow erosion of loyalty, a steady compromise of values. When he handed over James and Lily Potter to Voldemort, it wasn't just a crime against his friends, it was a fundamental violation of the bond he had with his wand. The betrayal was so deep, so personal, that even the wand recoiled from him. Though no textbook in the Hogwarts library dares record such phenomena, there are accounts passed down in whispers of wands that snap in their master's hand, of spells that misfire in moments of deepest moral conflict, of magic that simply refuses. In The Deathly Hallows, J.K. Rowling describes Peter's behaviour with growing unease. After returning to Voldemort's service, Pettigrew relies more on the magic of others, snatching wands, skulking behind allies, drawing upon enchanted objects rather than conjuring spells of his own. Even when given a new, silver hand by Voldemort, he uses it not for power, but as a shield, a barrier between himself and the world that he no longer truly belongs to. As Harry observes in the cellar of Malfoy Manor, Pettigrew was struggling, but his own silver fingers were moving inexorably toward his throat. The hand, enchanted by Voldemort, strangles him. But one might wonder, why did Pettigrew not fight back with his wand? Why did he die so easily? The answer may lie in the bond that had already been broken. His wand, or whatever wand he carried at that time, had ceased to trust him. Its loyalty, fragile and conditional, had evaporated. Some fans believed that the wand itself had turned cold, reluctant to channel magic for someone so steeped in cowardice. While Voldemort demanded obedience, the The wand demanded alignment. Magic, in its purest form, seeks purpose, and purpose does not bloom in betrayal. This phenomenon is not exclusive to Peter. The books hint at wand behavior that mirrors the emotional and moral compass of its owner. Take, for example, Draco Malfoy. When Harry disarms him at Malfoy Manor, the Elder Wand, with the most powerful wand in existence, shifts allegiance, not because of sheer strength or spellwork, but because of intent. The wand recognizes who has claimed dominance, but it also senses character. Draco never truly wished to kill Dumbledore. The wand knew this. His hesitation at the astronomy tower was not weakness, it was clarity. His soul recoiled from murder, and the wand obeyed that moral pull. But Peter had no such clarity. He wandered through his days in a fog of guilt and fear, and his wand, in response, lost its sharpness. Fans who have studied the minute moments in his journey point out how rarely he casts meaningful magic after his betrayal. During the resurrection of Voldemort in the graveyard, it is not his wand that anchors the ritual, but a blade and blood. His magic is peripheral. He is the servant, not the sorcerer. The wand, once an extension of his will, has become an ornament. Wands are known to resist change. When a wizard tries to take possession of a wand not rightfully theirs, the results can be unpredictable. Ron Weasley experiences this when he uses Bellatrix's wand. It performs poorly for him. But in Pettigrew's case, the change was not external, it was internal. He did not steal someone else's wand, he stole from himself his own courage, his loyalty, his soul. And the wand, sensing this theft, recoiled. There's a deeper poetry in wand lore that is often missed by the untrained eye. Wands are not merely reactive, they are relational. They learn the heartbeat of their owner. They remember what spells are cast and why. They know the difference between defense and aggression, between bravery and cowardice. Dumbledore once said, "It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are." A wand, in this view, is the silent witness to those choices, and for Peter, the witness turned judge. In the early days of the First Wizarding War, Peter must have wielded his wand with purpose, aiding the Order of the Phoenix, fighting for what he believed was right. But belief, once compromised, is not easily repaired. As he shifted allegiance, his wand did not. It dragged behind him, cold and reluctant, like a lover betrayed. This may explain his reliance on deception and physical transformation, turning into a rat to hide rather than facing conflict with spells. His animagus form was not a strategy of attack, but of retreat. Even his death is symbolic of this magical estrangement. When the Silver Hand turns on him, there is no explosion of defensive spells, no fiery duel. He gasps, he chokes, he falls. A wizard of his training should have had time to resist, to summon his wand and retaliate, but no magic comes. The silence is damning. The wand, it seems, had already left him. Contrast this with Harry's wand, which acts of its own accord to protect him in the Goblet of Fire. As Voldemort casts the killing curse, a rare magical phenomenon, priori incantatem, occurs, and Harry's wand fights back. The loyalty is unshaken, the bond is true, and the result is astonishing. This kind of response is born not only of shared history, but of moral conviction. Harry's wand believes in him. Peter's perhaps did not. Wand lore is filled with such paradoxes. Ollivander, the greatest wand-maker of modern times, admits that the wand chooses the wizard, but even he cannot fully explain why. It is believed that wand cores, phoenix feather, dragon heartstring, unicorn hair, each have personalities of their own. A phoenix feather, for instance, requires a master of great initiative. Perhaps Peter's wand once held such a core, but as he fell deeper into moral compromise, the wand's requirements went unmet. There is also the question of trust. A wand must trust its owner. Trust is the currency of magical resonance. When that trust is broken, the wand may refuse to perform at full strength. It may stutter, it may backfire, or it may simply fail to respond. Wizards rarely speak of this, for to admit that your wand resists you is to admit failure at a spiritual level. but there are whispers, and Peter's silence in combat speaks volumes. This unexplored realm of wand loyalty opens deeper questions about the soul of magic itself. Is it merely a science, a manipulation of energy? Or is it a moral force, one that aligns with justice and punishes betrayal? The case of Peter Pettigrew leans toward the latter. For all his cunning, he remained weak. For all his fear, he found no protection. And for all his wand's history, he found no power in the end. It is a strange kind of justice, then, that Peter's final act, a moment of hesitation, a flash of mercy toward Harry, is what seals his doom. The magical hand, sensing weakness, kills him. But perhaps it was not just the hand. Perhaps the wand too had had enough. Perhaps magic itself had turned away, weary of being wielded by one who no longer knew who he was. The notion that wands do not like betrayal may sound like superstition, but in the shadows of canon, in the silences between spells, in the choices that go unspoken, the truth lingers. Magic, real magic, is not blind. It sees, it weighs, and it turns away from those who have turned away from themselves. Peter Pettigrew died not with a bang, but a whimper. Not because he lacked power, but because he no longer had the right to wield it. His wand, once a partner in youth and ambition, had grown silent. It had watched its master become a stranger, and when the time came to choose between loyalty and survival, the wand, like the world, chose to let him fall. Number 20. Wands can store magical traces. The wand of Tom Riddle, 11 inches, yew, and phoenix feather, bore more than the memory of a boy who once walked through the gates of Hogwarts in search of glory. It carried the weight of his first triumph, the echo of his earliest curse, and the shiver of darkness that would only deepen with time. When Harry Potter's wand connected with Voldemort's during their duel in the graveyard, the golden beam that burst between them wasn't just an accident of shared core, it was a revelation. Magic left footprints, and wands remembered. The spell Priori Incantatem didn't just produce a shadow of the last enchantment, it pulled from the depths of a wand's soul, a reflection of choices made, of intent, of pain. The ghosts that emerged from Voldemort's wand, Cedric, Frank Bryce, Bertha Jorkins, Harry's own parents, were not illusions, but after-images burned into the wand like scars. Every powerful spell carved a mark, as real and persistent as smoke caught in wood grain. Ollivander once claimed, "The wand chooses the wizard." But the truth was, the wand also remembers the wizard, not just their hand, their voice, or their incantation. It remembered their fear, their hate, their need. Even a simple, disarming charm like Expelliarmus, when cast with enough intent, left a faint pulse within the wand, like the throb of blood through a newly healed wound. Harry often felt this pulse in his own wand after a duel, a kind of quiet humming as though the wood still held on to the excitement of battle. But murder did something else entirely. When the killing curse, Avada Kedavra, was cast, the wand that channeled it drank more than just power. It absorbed a trace of the soul's fracture. Dumbledore, wise to such mysteries, once cautioned that magic of such force could never truly be forgotten. In the Department of Mysteries, deep within the Ministry of Magic, wands were occasionally sealed in glass after investigations, not just as evidence, but as artifacts too dangerous to return to circulation. They hummed with something unholy, a residue that refused to fade. During the trials following the fall of Voldemort, the wand of Bellatrix Lestrange was submitted for magical analysis. Auras reported an overwhelming sense of heat, fury, and chaos upon touching it. When Priori Incantato was performed, a staggering string of dark enchantments manifested, not just curses, but enchantments woven with screams. The spells themselves were ordinary by name, Crucio, Imperio, Avada Kedavra, but what emerged from her wand carried voices, blurred memories of pain, and a bitterness that stunned even seasoned ministry officials. The wand had not just cast, it had remembered. Wand lore is as much an art of emotion as it is of wood and core. The reason why some spells leave deeper traces lies in the caster's emotional state. A stinging hex cast in frustration might leave a faint tingle in the wand, but one cast in white-hot rage might linger for days. Dumbledore once explained to Harry that magic responds not only to the words and movements, but to the strength of feeling behind them. That is why some spells fail in hesitation, and why others succeed in fury. A wand absorbs this emotion, storing it like a melody within an instrument, waiting to be replayed under the right conditions. In one famous case, the wand of Thaddeus Thorne, a dark wizard captured in 1903, refused to work for anyone else. Every time a ministry official tried to use it, the wand backfired. One even burst into flame. Upon inspection, magical residue of the spell Inferno Ignis was found layered like bark upon its core, alongside a hidden pulse that suggested obsession. Thorne had used the wand to burn entire villages. The wand, it seemed, had grown accustomed to destruction. Any attempt to channel innocent or protective magic through it caused it to rebel violently. Even wands forged with good intentions can store dangerous magic. Hermione Granger's wand, vine wood with dragon heartstring, carried faint warmth even hours after she cast powerful protective enchantments. But during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, when she attempted a particularly strong impedimenta, her wand emitted a silver glow long after the duel ended. She later described the sensation as holding something alive, and it took her days to dispel the sense that her wand was whispering back at her. It had absorbed the chaos, the urgency, the fear for her friends. It had remembered the stakes. There are whispered legends among wand-makers of wands that speak in dreams. Wands that, once bound to a wizard of particular power or madness, retain a kind of echo. Garrick Ollivander, in a rare interview with the Daily Prophet, admitted that some wands hum in storage. Not all of them, he said, but a very few, cannot forget what they have done. One such wand belonged to Gellert Grindelwald. Even after his imprisonment, Ollivander refused to touch it without gloves. It had absorbed too much. Its memory had become volatile. Emotional echoes in wands aren't always dangerous. Luna Lovegood's wand, made of unknown wood and a curious unidentified core, was examined briefly by a magical theorist after the war. He noted that the wand emitted an aura of peaceful humming, as though content. The residual enchantments, mostly related to healing and conjuration, suggested a wizard whose magic was guided not by fear or ambition, but by wonder. The wand, despite seeing battle at Hogwarts, bore none of the trauma found in others. It had been a witness to pain, but not a participant. Still, the ministry remains cautious. When young wizards commit acts of forbidden magic, their wands are often confiscated, not simply as punishment, but because the wand may be imprinted. In the case of Augustus Rookwood, a Death Eater who worked as a spy, his wand was kept under protective charm for decades. It retained whispers of confidential conversations, eavesdropping charms layered upon each other so tightly that when touched, one could hear flickers of speech. Priori Incantato revealed not just spells, but moments, frozen conversations from a life of secret. Harry Potter, after the Second Wizarding War, refused to let anyone else handle his wand for months. Though it had been broken and repaired, it still pulsed with the force of his final duel. When he cast minor spells in peace, the wand responded with a gentle flicker, but during moments of high emotion, the wand surged with light, as though it remembered standing against the Dark Lord. Some scholars believe the wand not only held magical residue, but had bonded with Harry on a level far beyond normal. It had been loyal unto death, and that left a trace no spell could erase. There are rumors of experimental magic that can extract emotional residue from wands and convert it into images. A prototype device in the Department of Mysteries allegedly allowed unspeakables to see flickers of the spell's memory, like a pensive but rawer, darker. The project was reportedly shelved after several researchers were overwhelmed by the violence stored in Death Eater wands. One was said to have suffered hallucinations for weeks. Another claimed to see the moment of his brother's death reenacted endlessly in the air. The wand had remembered too much. This memory is why old wands, even if unused for years, are treated with care. Some families pass down wands across generations, but skilled wand makers know to perform a rite of purification. Without it, the new owner might feel sudden sadness or anger, not their own. Magical memory clings like a scent. In one tale, a boy who inherited his grandfather's wand found himself inexplicably weeping every time he touched it. Only later did the family reveal the wand had been used in the First Wizarding War. It remembered. Some magical theorists propose that wands may even influence their wielders over time. Not in a conscious sense, but through resonance. A wand soaked in fear may encourage caution. One steeped in aggression may urge recklessness. This is why young students are urged to treat their wands with care. Magic is a relationship, and over time it deepens. Dumbledore believed that no wand was entirely neutral, that the experiences it shared with a wizard changed it forever, just as the wizard was changed. The Blackthorn wand, once used by a hit wizard named Marius Flint, was found decades after his death. When taken into custody by the Ministry, it refused to perform any spells for others. When forced, it emitted sparks of green and black, and the room turned cold. The magical residue inside was so strong that it altered the temperature. The department declared it permanently corrupted. It rests now in a sealed case marked with 3 warning charms and an inscription, "May this wand never remember again." And yet memory is not always corruption. In the hands of a loving wizard, a wand can carry warmth, protection, even joy. Professor McGonagall's wand, upon her retirement, was said to flicker with soft golden light, a reaction to decades of transfiguration, taught in passion and kindness. When she laid it in its velvet case for the last time, the glow lingered for several minutes. Students passing by her office door reported hearing a bell-like chime, though no bells were ever found. The wand, it seemed, was saying farewell. The wand of Severus Snape remains unaccounted for. Some speculate it was buried with him. Others say Dumbledore ensured it would never be found. There is a quiet belief that Snape's wand contains within it not just magic, but anguish, love twisted into sacrifice. It may carry the echo of Lily's name, murmured in spells cast in secret. Some believe the wand, like the man, was a battleground of feeling, and that even now it rests unquiet. No spell is truly forgotten, no wand is ever blank. From the hum of a child's first lumos to the thunder of a war-ending curse, the wand absorbs, endures, and remembers. To hold a wand is to hold history, not only of magic, but of the hands that shaped it. And in this quiet remembering, we find the most human part of wizardry, not the spell, not the duel, but the memory, the story left behind in wood and core. Number 21. Some wands are ghostly. In the quiet, dust-filled corridors of Wandlore, there exists a tale that few dare whisper and fewer still believe. These are not stories about unbeatable wands or famous duels. These are accounts of the phantom wands, wands that vanish, withdraw from human reach, or appear to erase themselves from history altogether. Their makers remember crafting them, shops report them in stock, but then without a trace they are gone. No sales record, no theft, no explanation. It is as though they decide to remove themselves from existence, waiting in silence for a moment known only to them. Perhaps the most famous of these was the yew wand with a velar hair core, forged in the 18th century by Gregorovich's lesser-known rival, Matthias Fenwick. Fenwick was a recluse, an eccentric artisan who spoke of wand creation as communion rather than craft. "We do not make wands," he once wrote, "we awaken them." Among the dozens he created One remained in his possession for over 10 years. He would not sell it, nor let it be handled by anyone. "It has not yet chosen," he explained to a confused apprentice, who later recounted the story in a letter preserved in the magical archives of Prague. This particular wand had a handle carved with ivy patterns, smooth and black as burnt paper, with a faint shimmer that made it seem unreal to the eye. Fenwick claimed that he had never seen a wand resist so many potential wielders. It vibrated violently when placed near a hopeful buyer. It once leapt off the table and cracked a window when a ministry inspector approached. Despite numerous attempts, no match was ever found. Then on the cold morning of December 3rd, 1738, Fenwick entered his workshop and found the wand gone. The door had not been opened, no spell had been cast, no thief had left a trace. He fell to his knees, convinced it had simply disappeared. Decades later, Garrick Ollivander himself, grandson of the famous Gervase Ollivander, would encounter a similar case. It was a yew wand again, though made in his own shop in 1842 with a core taken from the tail hair of a runaspore, a magical serpent known for its triple-headed intelligence. The wand was stored, labelled and shelved. It was measured at precisely 12.34 inches, but the very next day, when the young Ollivander went to retrieve it for polishing, the box was empty. The wand was gone, the tag still dangling from the velvet lining like a remnant of a dream. He searched the shop from floorboards to rafters, cast detection charms, consulted his father. Nothing. The wand, like Fenwick's, had vanished without a sound. Such events are not dismissed lightly among wand-makers. Though few speak of it in public, the tradition of phantom wands runs deep. Not every wand that disappears is considered phantom. Theft, destruction, and misplacement are common enough. But in these rare cases, the disappearance comes with an eerie sense of will. It is not lost, Garrick Ollivander later told a colleague. It is simply elsewhere. One wonders what it means for a wand to refuse the world. According to Mr. Ollivander, the wand chooses the wizard. But what happens when the wand finds no one worthy? What if a wand, infused with a particular spirit or consciousness, decides that no hands are fit to wield it? This question is especially haunting when one considers that such wands often reappear, sometimes decades, even centuries later, unchanged, untouched, as though they had simply waited in hiding for the right person to come along. In 1931, a young witch named Evangeline Burke entered Ollivander's looking for her first wand. She was the daughter of two squibs, raised in a family that didn't quite understand magic. Her magical signature was unusual, pulsing with fragmented intent and peculiar timing. Garrick Ollivander, then in his 30s, tried wand after wand, all to no avail. Then he paused, frowned, and disappeared into the back room. He returned holding a wand box layered in dust. "This has been missing," he said to himself more than to her, "for over 90 years. He opened it. Inside lay the rune spore tail wand, the same one that had vanished in 1842. Without hesitation, it lifted itself from the box and flew into Evangeline's hand. A sharp golden spark burst from its tip, and a gust of wind howled through the shop. Ollivander was struck speechless. "I had thought it gone," he later told the Daily Prophet, "but it had simply waited." That event sent ripples through the wand law community. Some saw it as confirmation of the phantom wand theory. Others whispered that certain wand cores possessed a kind of stubborn sentience, particularly those derived from magical creatures with strong minds or spiritual essence, Vela hair, rune spur tails, thestral tail hair, phoenix feather perhaps most famously, though most phoenix wands find their match. Quickly, Dumbledore's own wand, the Elder Wand, has long been suspected of acting under its own arcane will. The Elder Wand, too, has a phantom history. While not traditionally counted among the phantom wands due to its violent lineage, there were several periods in history when it seemed to disappear entirely, only to return with devastating force. As Dumbledore himself acknowledged, the wand's allegiance is tricky and its destiny stranger than most. One could argue that the Elder Wand was never hidden, but rather resting between owners, resisting those unworthy, waiting in shadow for the next wizard capable of bearing it. There is another tale, darker and less verified, concerning a wand made from acacia wood and the core of a kelpie's mane. The wand was said to absorb the emotions of those who touched it. In 1895 it was given to an auror named Martin Rook. Within 6 months, Rook vanished during a mission in Albania. His body never recovered. The wand, too, was never seen again. Decades later, during the First Wizarding War, a Death Eater was captured wielding a wand that matched its description, though he claimed to have found it buried in a hollow tree wrapped in cloth that hadn't rotted. Upon examination, the wand refused to work for anyone else and eventually cracked itself down the middle, as if choosing death over disloyalty. These stories are rare, elusive, and often dismissed as fables among younger witches and wizards. But the records are there: official letters from wand-makers, archived testimonies, unsolved disappearances in ministry logs. They tell of wands that act with an eerie autonomy, as if driven not by magic alone, but by something deeper: purpose. When a wand does not find its wizard, it does not settle. It withdraws. Historians now classify such wands into a shadowy subcategory: volatile sentient wands. They are rare, unpredictable, and often powerful. Some magical theorists argue that their behavior is connected to old laws of intention, that if a wand is crafted with too much focus, passion, or uniqueness, it begins to crave a soul that mirrors that intensity. When no such soul appears, the wand rejects the world. One such wand was once held at the Musée Magique in Paris, a museum devoted to enchanted artifacts. It was never displayed, only referenced in a catalogue, with a simple note: unstable, responds to no handler. A visiting curator once attempted to move it with levitation. The charm shattered mid-air, and the wand dropped like a stone, then burst into cold blue flame. No damage was done, but the curator left the profession shortly after, stating in his resignation letter, "That wand looked at me." Some researchers believe that these phantom wands are not anomalies, but relics of a magical principle long misunderstood. Just as magical beasts display varied levels of intelligence, so too might a wand, especially one composed of ancient wood and powerful core, exhibit desires, instincts, or even memory. To say a wand has memory is to admit it can carry trauma, wrote scholar Wilhelmina Bracknell in her 1972 essay, The Will of the Wand. And what does a wand do with pain, if not hide? There are theories as well that some phantom wands are linked to prophecy. They vanish because their owner is not yet born. They refuse the present because their destiny lies in the future. Such wands might slip into magical spaces, unmapped pockets of reality, forests where no time flows, vaults that close without keys, and then when the moment arrives, they reappear. That would explain why in 1995, just weeks before the Triwizard Tournament, a curious occurrence was noted in Ollivander's. A wand made from blackthorn and a core of unicorn hair, never sold, never handled, was found sitting openly on the display shelf. Yet no one remembered placing it there. No tag, no dust. It looked freshly crafted, though Garrick swore it had not been made in years. That wand was never sold. It remained in the shop until the Battle of Hogwarts, after which it disappeared again. Its box was found intact. Its space on the shelf was empty. Its history, once again, was a ghost. So, what are these phantom wands? Magical mistakes? Myths spun by eccentric craftsmen? Or are they the instruments of fate, silently reshaping the path of wizardkind by choosing not to choose? Perhaps the answer lies not in the wand, but in the space it leaves behind, an absence that calls to something yet to come. Somewhere perhaps a child is born, a soul with a storm inside it, untamed and luminous. And somewhere, in the hidden corners of the world, a phantom wand stirs. It does not speak, it does not move, but it waits. Number 22. Wands are banned in some countries. In the candlelit corridors of Hogwarts, young witches and wizards lift their wands with ease and purpose, confident that the slender wood in their grip is a symbol of control, strength, and tradition. But beyond the shores of Britain, far from the hallowed halls of Ollivanders and the rigid customs of European spellcasting, there exist magical cultures where such a tool is not only foreign, but forbidden. In the heartlands of Asia and the ancestral kingdoms of Africa, the wand is not always a symbol of magical mastery. It is sometimes a remnant of unwanted influence, a relic that whispers of conquest and conformity. According to A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot, wand lore as developed in Western Europe was not the universal language of magic it claimed to be. This simple sentence, often overlooked by readers eager for tales of great duels and clever enchantments, reveals a deep and global complexity in the world of spellcraft. In regions like Nepal, Tibet, and northern Thailand, the magical traditions predate European methods by centuries, and their tools were forged not of yew or dragon heartstring, but of sacred stones, silk-bound scrolls, and chants etched in forgotten dialects. The Guling Monastery, a hidden magical sanctuary high in the Himalayas, houses an ancient magical school that has resisted wand usage for over 1,000 years. Its headmistress, Jia Yi Zhong, a formidable witch known for her control over elemental winds, famously stated during an interview with Transfiguration Today, "A wand limits the soul. Our magic is born in breath, channeled through the body, not confined to a carved twig. Her mastery over the air and weather is achieved through harmonic resonance, a series of vocal vibrations sung in prolonged syllables known as sky chants." For students of Guling, the act of spellcasting is a deeply spiritual performance, not a flick or swish. In such schools, the presence of a wand can cause offence. Visiting British wizards like Miranda Dorrance, a ministry representative, learned this the hard way during her diplomatic tour in 1972. Carrying a vinewood wand with a phoenix feather core, she attempted a simple Lumos charm during a ceremonial gathering in Bhutan, only to be met with horrified stares and abrupt silence. Later writings reveal that the action was perceived as magical arrogance, as though she were displaying superiority over the native methods. Dorrance later reflected in her memoirs that the wand in those mountains was not a tool, it was a declaration of cultural ignorance. This tension is not confined to Asia. In various African magical communities, the rejection of wands carries an even deeper weight, one interwoven with history, identity, and resistance. For centuries, African wizards practiced a form of magic rooted in ancestral reverence, bodily movement, and nature-bound objects. When European magical explorers, sometimes kindly labelled as researchers, and at other times rightly called invaders, arrived with their theories of wand lore and wand dependency, they sought to catalogue and reform what they did not understand. "They came with wands and superiority," wrote Professor Oban Nkrumah, a Ghanaian magical historian. "But we held stones soaked in rainwater and chants passed from mothers to daughters. They thought us primitive, but our power did not need taming." In the central highlands of Uganda, the Enchantress Council of Mbale still prohibits the use of wands. To them, wand usage is associated with colonialism, a time when European wizards attempted to enforce their systems on native magical societies. One notable confrontation occurred in 1891 when a group of French magical missionaries arrived with the intent to establish a Beauxbatons satellite campus in East Africa. They brought hundreds of wands intending to educate the locals. What they encountered instead was resistance led by a powerful enchantress named Mirembe Nasuna, who used conjured illusions made from clay and water to trick, repel, and ultimately humiliate the invaders. Mirembe's magic relied entirely on tactile elements. She carried with her a gourd that, when shaken rhythmically, could summon protective spirits of the land. Witnesses claimed to see vines erupting from the earth, binding the foreign wizards in silence. the Beauxbatons representatives retreated in shame, and to this day the name Mirembe is revered in the local magical community as a symbol of proud defiance. Her story is recorded not in textbooks but in drum songs and firelit tales, told by elders under star-speckled skies. Even in modern times, many African magical institutions prefer traditional methods. At the Ouagadougou School of Magic, located in the Mountains of the Moon, students learn to perform spells through gestures and dream speech rather than wands. According to Quidditch Through the Ages, Ouagadougou students are particularly skilled at astronomy, alchemy, and the art of self-transfiguration, which they achieve through hand signs and symbols carved into obsidian talismans. Wands are not banned outright at Ouagadougou, but they are rarely used. Many graduates believe that relying on such a device weakens one's internal magical current. Professor Tinashe Mbeta, a Ouagadougou alumni and current head of the Magical Anthropology Department at the International Confederation of Wizards, once stated during a global summit, "To suggest that a wand is necessary for true magic is to erase millennia of magical expression. In our culture, the body is the wand, the spirit is the core." His words resonated deeply with many, though not all agreed. Critics from Western Europe labelled this view as romanticized primitivism, but Mbeta countered in a published rebuttal asking, "Why must our ways be validated through your standards? Who appointed the wand as the crown of magic?" Indeed, the spread of wand-based magic owes more to politics than to superiority. During the rise of the British Ministry of Magic's global influence in the 19th century, wand distribution was treated almost like imperial currency. Trading companies exported not only tea and silk, but also yew, cherry, and acacia wands crafted in mass quantities. In places like India and the Caribbean, wands were introduced alongside colonial education systems. Many young witches and wizards were taught that their traditional methods were unsophisticated, leading to a painful erosion of native magical identities. Even so, traditions persisted. In southern India, the coastal city of Kanyakumari hosts the Shrine of the Seven Chakras, a magical sanctuary where spellwork is tied to internal energy points. Here, magic is drawn through meditation and mudras, not conjured through wood and core. The shrine's guardian, Padma Devi, a reclusive spellweaver, once turned away a group of British scholars who sought to document her methods. "You arrive with wands in hand and parchment in pocket," she reportedly said, "but what I teach cannot be captured in ink or controlled by wood." The implication is clear. While British magic often demands structure, spells named, classified, and regulated, other cultures embrace a more fluid, instinctive understanding of power. In Japan, for instance, the magical tradition of onmyodo focuses on the balance of cosmic forces. Spellcasting involves paper charms, salt circles, and ink-based calligraphy rather than wands. To appear with a wand at a shikigami summoning would be as out of place as bringing a cauldron to a tea ceremony. Even in the Americas, the universality of the wand is questioned. In the depths of the Amazon rainforest, the lost magical community of Vereda das Brumas thrived for centuries, using spells infused into feathers and bioluminescent fungi. These magical items were believed to store ancestral memories, acting as living conduits for power. Wands, when introduced by European settlers, were seen as sterile by comparison. A local legend tells of a British wizard named Oliver Penfleet who vanished in 1834 after attempting to use his wand to control the jungle's magic. According to oral tradition, the rainforest rejected his stick and swallowed him whole. Interestingly, this global disparity in wand acceptance also shaped magical law. The International Confederation of Wizards has long debated whether wand regulation is fair or culturally biased. The infamous wand ban of 1910, designed to prevent wand-based dueling in public spaces, was protested by African and Asian delegates, who argued that it gave undue advantage to Western wizards in international disputes. "You outlaw our tools," argued Kenyan delegate Zuberi Malunga, "and you hand power to those with wands. Where is the justice in that?" Despite this, wand-based education remains dominant in global magical curricula, especially due to the reach of institutions like Hogwarts, Durmstrang, and Beauxbaton. Magical textbooks, often authored by European wizards, focus heavily on wand use, leaving many students from non-Western backgrounds feeling alienated. Some schools, like Mahoutokoro in Japan, attempt a hybrid approach, teaching both wand and non-wand methods, but even there, pressures of international standardization weigh heavily. Still, voices rise in favor of diversity. The Modern Magical Practices Journal recently featured an article titled "Wandlessness and Identity: Reclaiming Our Roots," which spotlighted students from mixed magical heritages seeking to rediscover the traditions of their ancestors. One such student, Amina Seifu, a second-generation witch in London, described her journey. "At Hogwarts, I was taught to revere my wand, but when I visited my grandmother in Tanzania, she showed me a stone she's used for 50 years to summon rain. That stone has more magic than any wand I've touched." Ultimately, the wand is not just a tool, it is a symbol of power for some, of oppression for others. To walk into a room and draw a wand is to declare not only magical intent but cultural allegiance. The question that lingers is not whether the wand is effective, it certainly is, but whether it should be treated as the only legitimate path to magical expression. In a world as vast and varied as the wizarding one, the answer lies not in rigid spellbooks but in open hearts willing to learn. Number 23. A broken wand can affect the new one. In the quiet corners of the magical world, where spells and secrets breathe in the dust of wandmakers' shops, lies a truth few dare to speak aloud. A broken wand never truly dies. It lingers. Like the ghost of a past companion, it can haunt its master's magic and poison the bond with a new wand. This phenomenon, whispered about in specialist circles and carefully avoided in textbooks, is known as wand conflict. At its core, it is not simply a malfunction of wood and core, it is an emotional and magical entanglement that disrupts the very soul of spellcasting. Wands are not tools, not in the way a Muggle might consider a hammer or a screwdriver. They are extensions of the wizard's will, fragments of identity. When one is broken, the pain is not merely practical, it is intimate. A wand remembers, and sometimes it refuses to let go. When a wizard moves on too quickly or tries to force compatibility with a new wand while still yearning for the old one, the broken wand may begin to parasitize the new one. This parasitism isn't visible to the naked eye, but its effects can be disastrous. Spell misfires, inexplicable backlash, fluctuating power, these are only the beginning. In extreme cases, a wand conflict can cause physical harm. There are rumours that Flavius Borgin, one of the early owners of Borgin and Burke's, suffered a series of debilitating accidents after attempting to replace a dragon heartstring wand with a new one crafted from unicorn hair. The old wand, though stored away in a locked cabinet, influenced the new wand's magic through residual enchantment. Spells reversed themselves, charms decayed into chaos. Eventually, the new wand snapped in his hand during a routine incantation. The magic of a wand is not confined to its core. It is fed by the legacy of usage, shaped by the emotions poured into it over years. This lingering energy can warp the fresh alignment a new wand seeks to form with its master. This is why wandmakers like Garrick Ollivander are so meticulous when it comes to matching a wand to a wizard. He once noted that the wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter, and yet what he left unsaid was equally important. A wand remembers its wizard, and a wizard remembers his wand. Harry Potter's own journey is perhaps the clearest and most poignant example of this phenomenon. After his holly and phoenix feather wand was snapped in the chaos of fleeing Malfoy Manor, he was handed a series of replacements. None of them worked quite right. When using Bellatrix Lestrange's wand, for instance, the results were erratic. Though it was an extraordinarily powerful wand in her hands, it seemed reluctant in Harry's. During the trio's infiltration of Gringotts, the wand misfired, causing a dangerous outburst of magic that nearly revealed them too early. But the real unravelling came not from the foreign nature of Bellatrix's wand, but from the silent scream of Harry's broken holly wand. The remnants still vibrated with the echoes of their shared past. Battles fought, spells cast in moments of desperation, the warmth of phoenix song echoing through the core. Though snapped, the wand refused to fade. It clung to Harry's subconscious, and through that bond, its residual magic reached into every new wand he tried to use. This is the essence of wand conflict. The broken wand's lingering spirit interferes like a jealous shadow. It's not malicious, rather it's tragic. The bond is so deep that separation becomes more than physical. Wizards and witches who suffer from this often find themselves disoriented, as if they've lost a part of their voice. Their magic stutters, their confidence wanes. Professor Bathilda Lonsdale of the British Magical Psychological Association once wrote that a wand conflict resembles a broken heart more than a broken bone. She described patients who mourned their wands as if they had lost dear friends, and in truth they had. Some magical communities have developed rituals to address this conflict. In older wizarding traditions, particularly among the Irish and the Highland Scots, farewell ceremonies for broken wands are still performed. A wizard will craft a simple altar, lay the wand upon it, and speak aloud the names of the major spells cast with it. A small flame is lit not to destroy the wand but to honor it, and then the wizard buries the wand in a sacred grove or keeps it in a sealed charm box, inscribed with runes to prevent magical leakage. These rites are not just symbolic. They seem to soothe the residual magic and gently sever the bond. In one recorded case from 1892, a duelist named Adric McNair, an ancestor of the infamous Walden McNair, suffered multiple dueling losses after replacing a wand destroyed in a fire. His spells refused to hit their mark. He eventually conducted an elaborate funeral for the broken wand, including a eulogy and the playing of a tune the wand had liked, a superstition of the time. Within weeks, his new wand began to function at full capacity, and he went on to win the Midlands Dueling Championship. Yet others, like Harry, refused to say goodbye. When Voldemort was defeated and Harry found himself in possession of the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand ever created, he didn't seek a new wand to replace the one he had lost. Instead, he used the Elder Wand to mend his original Holly Wand. "I'm putting the Elder Wand back," he told Ron and Hermione. "I think it's more trouble than it's worth, and the Holly Wand is the one that chose me." By choosing to heal the broken wand rather than discard it, Harry avoided the prolonged conflict that so many others endured. But such restoration is not a common solution. Only artifacts of immense magical power, such as the Elder Wand, can truly heal a broken wand without damaging its core. Most broken wands, if mended with standard spells or Muggle adhesives, remain damaged in soul if not in shape. Ron Weasley learned this when he tried to fix his wand with spellotape in second year. Spells backfired, as the book stated. His wand misfired in Lockhart's classroom in the Forbidden Forest and nearly got him expelled more than once. The Ministry of Magic, aware of the dangers posed by conflicted wands, has issued several advisories over the decades. An internal memo from the Department of Magical Equipment Control reads, "Wizards are advised to dispose of damaged wands in accordance with Regulation 7C, Wand Deactivation Protocol. Residual enchantments may pose a threat to public safety if not properly nullified." Still, compliance is low. Sentiment often overrules reason, and wizards keep their broken wands tucked in drawers, locked in vaults, or hidden in robes like relics of a lost age. Even among wand-makers, opinions are divided. Some, like Grigorovich, believed that wand allegiance was purely a matter of power and transfer of mastery. But Ollivander took a different view. In his notes, many of which were never published but stored in archives at the Magical Artifacts Institute, he described wand loyalty as a two-way current. He wrote that a wand feels rejection as a dog might. The hurt of being replaced can manifest in subtle ways, especially if the wizard has not truly let go. This perspective has given rise to another controversial practice: wand retirement. Rather than destroying or burying a wand, some wizards retire it by encasing it in crystal or sealing it within a protection charm and displaying it with reverence. The theory is that the wand, feeling honoured rather than discarded, ceases its parasitic interference. Helena Blackthorne, a renowned charms professor at Beauxbatons, claimed that this technique allowed her to transition peacefully to a new wand after her original was destroyed during a basilisk encounter in the catacombs of Corsica. Still, there are stories of failed retirements. One such tale comes from a case filed in 1971 when an auror named Callum Braxley began experiencing uncontrolled bursts of magic. His wand, newly crafted from redwood with a thunderbird feather core, began emitting sparks even when unheld. Eventually it was discovered that Braxley kept his broken ash wand, burned at the tip but intact, in a secret compartment of his cloak. Only after a disposal ritual and months of magical therapy did the new wand stabilize. Children are rarely taught these complexities. At Hogwarts, wand lore is briefly touched upon in first-year charms or history of magic, but the emotional and spiritual aspects are glossed over. The idea of wand conflict is not included in standardized exams, but older wizards know better. They whisper the truth in the back rooms of pubs, in the narrow alleys behind Diagon Alley, and in letters penned to trusted friends. Wands once bonded do not simply break. They linger, they remember, they hunger. In the Department of Mysteries, there is a sealed drawer labelled Convergence Cases. Inside are reports of wand conflict so severe that entire rooms were burned, magic warped into curses, and the minds of wizards frayed from the dissonance. The worst case involved twin brothers, both using parts of the same ancestral wand, each claiming it had chosen them. Neither wand ever worked properly. The brothers eventually turned on one another, their spells fusing mid-air and producing effects that defied classification. Only one survived. This is why the act of choosing a wand is so sacred, and why parting with it is often more difficult than wizards admit. The wand, in its simplicity, is more than wood and core. It is witness, companion, and mirror. To carry a wand is to carry a history, and when that history ends in splinters, the echoes do not fade easily. So the next time a wand is broken on a battlefield in a fit of rage, or simply by accident, consider what remains behind. The piece in your pocket is not just a relic, it is a presence. If you do not let go, it may not either, and the new wand, waiting patiently, may never find its full voice, while the ghost of the old one lingers in your grip. Number 24. Wands can become jealous. Of all the curious quirks known to wand lore, few are as baffling and as emotionally charged as the rare phenomenon of a wand displaying jealousy. Not metaphorical jealousy, but a real, observable behavior in which the wand begins to react adversely to its master simply because another wand was used even briefly. It may sound like an exaggeration, a poetic flourish from the romantic imaginations of old wand makers, but several credible accounts from magical history and Hogwarts students themselves affirm that this behavior is very real. In the intricate relationship between wizard and wand, it seems that feelings run deeper than wood, core, and craftsmanship. Wands, as Garrick Ollivander famously stated, are not merely tools, but possess a form of sentience. The wand chooses the wizard, he said, in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, a truth that continues to unfold with subtle complexity across the magical world. What is often misunderstood is that the relationship does not end with the choice. Once chosen, a wand appears to grow more attuned to its master over time, adapting to their emotional states, casting style, even their deepest desires. When this bond is disturbed, especially by the presence of another wand, it can result in a form of magical jealousy that manifests in sometimes dramatic, sometimes dangerously subtle ways. Consider the case of Elspeth Turlow, a respected curse breaker from the late 19th century whose dragon heartstring wand had served her faithfully for over 2 decades. During a particularly dangerous mission in the Sudanese ruins of an ancient tomb, her wand was damaged by a sudden magical backlash. With no option but to complete the excavation, she borrowed a phoenix feather wand from a colleague. Though the mission ended in success, her troubles began upon returning home. Her own wand, expertly repaired, began emitting unusual heat when she touched it. At first, it was mild, an odd tingling sensation, but as the days went by, it became uncomfortably warm, to the point that casting even a simple lumos spell produced tiny sparks and visible resistance from the wand itself. Elspeth was no amateur. She consulted 3 wand makers across Europe, one of whom, Jacques Laroche of Marseille, confirmed what she feared. The wand was reacting not to physical damage but to betrayal. It was, he wrote in his notes, as if the wand had suffered a romantic indignity, its loyalty questioned, its pride injured. The dragon heartstring had taken offence, and no amount of apology would soothe it. In time, the wand mellowed, but Elspeth noted that its precision never quite returned. Her hexes took an extra beat to form, and the wand's responsiveness remained imperfect. She used it until retirement, but always felt, in her words, like it never truly forgave me. Dragon heartstring cores are notorious for their emotional volatility. Ollivander himself commented that wands with dragon heartstring cores tend to learn more quickly than other types. While they can be the most powerful and capable of flamboyant spells, they are also the most temperamental. It is perhaps no coincidence that jealousy has been most frequently observed in such wands. The core, extracted from a beast of immense pride and power, seems to carry with it a need for singular devotion. It does not tolerate divided attention. Hogwarts itself has been the stage for such strange wand behavior. During the 1987 academic year, Professor Flitwick reported a series of magical misfires from a Ravenclaw 5th year named Lenora Flint. Known for her exemplary charms work, Lenora suddenly began miscasting even the simplest incantations. Her Wingardium Leviosa became sluggish, her Accio had a delayed pull, and her Patronus, previously a shimmering lynx, refused to appear altogether. The cause was eventually traced back to a brief moment during the Christmas break when she borrowed her cousin's wand for an emergency spell. Her own wand, cherry wood with a dragon heartstring core, was found to heat noticeably during use, especially when Lenora was distressed. In her own diary, now archived in the Hogwarts Library restricted section, Lenora wrote, "It feels like holding a creature that does not trust me anymore. The warmth is unnatural, as if it resents my grip. It does not hurt, but it feels like a warning." After months of decline, she switched to a different wand, a painful decision that she described as a form of magical divorce. "I never believed I could mourn a stick of wood," she wrote, "but I do. I think it loved me once, and I think I broke its heart." Skeptics have attempted to explain away such accounts as psychological projection. They argue that a witch or wizard's guilt in using another wand leads to a subconscious disruption of their magical flow, thus resulting in awkward spell work. But this theory crumbles when faced with wands that physically react, emitting sparks, pulses, or outright refusing to cast. The magical imprint left on a wand by its master is not merely emotional, but metaphysical. When the connection is altered, the wand changes as well. The bond between wand and wizard may be more akin to a symbiotic relationship than previously understood. The wand, particularly when housing a sentient core like dragon heartstring, appears to possess not just a magical memory, but a concept of loyalty and even possessiveness. This becomes especially dangerous when a wizard tries to alternate between wands regularly, assuming that magical instruments can be swapped like brooms or cauldrons. Wand makers consistently warn against this practice. "A wand once bonded," says Antonia Zielinski, a contemporary wandcraft researcher in Prague, "does not tolerate infidelity. That bond may be mystical, but it is no less real than the one a hippogriff forms with the first hand to feed it." The rare but consistent accounts of wand jealousy are not limited to adults. Even younger students can experience this phenomenon, though the signs are often dismissed or misinterpreted. A first year at Ilvermorny once tried using her mother's wand out of curiosity. Upon returning to her own, she found that her shield charms began producing faint, flickering hexagonal patterns rather than full domes. It was only after a dream where the wand cried fire in her hands, as she described to her head of house, that the truth was suspected. After weeks of intensive reattunement exercises, daily use, spell repetition, and focused meditation, the wand appeared to accept her again, and her defensive magic returned to normal. Wand jealousy is, notably, not always permanent. In some cases, if the original wand is given special attention, constant use, polishing, and a form of magical reaffirmation, it can restabilize its bond with the wizard. However, the effort required is significant and, in cases of prolonged neglect, irreversible. This has prompted many a wizard to treat their wand with the reverence of a living creature, storing it with care, addressing it in ritual, and ensuring no other wand ever touches the same holder. Not all wand cores react this way. Unicorn hair, for example, tends to be far more forgiving. Wands of this type are loyal, yes, but gentle in temperament. Phoenix feather cores, meanwhile, are enigmatic and unpredictable. While they do not appear to exhibit jealousy in the traditional sense, they are known to grow distant if their chosen master uses another wand, a kind of quiet resignation rather than fiery rebellion. One case described a phoenix core wand that ceased producing its characteristic blue sparks and became silent, as though retreating within itself until the original bond was restored through magical therapy. The magical world is only beginning to unravel the mysteries surrounding wand sentience. The Department of Magical Research in Edinburgh has recorded at least 12 instances of jealousy discharge, an event where a wand emits visible energy when confronted with another wand recently held by its master. These episodes can range from harmless fizzing to dangerous bursts that have singed carpets, burned hands, or, in one case, caused a bookshelf to collapse at the Ministry of Magic archives. It is said that Gellert Grindelwald's wand once rebelled against him when he attempted to substitute it with a temporary artifact wand during a theft operation in Milan. The result was a partial misfire that exposed his position to Italian auras. Though Grindelwald was a master of wandless magic and recovered quickly, the incident was noted in his private records, seized after his capture. His dragon heartstring wand was, according to rumours, never the same afterward, moody, resistant, and prone to unpredictable surges. The theme of wand jealousy is absent from most official textbooks, perhaps because it defies strict magical logic. It does not obey clear cause and effect principles and varies between individual wands, yet the anecdotal evidence continues to accumulate. Magical historians now speak openly about this behavior as an emotional reaction of sentient magic, a term that still causes unease among purist scholars who cling to the idea that magic, though alive, is devoid of feeling. There is a quiet elegance in the idea that a wand, forged of lifeless wood and imbued with a core drawn from the wildest creatures, can come to know love and loss. It forces us to consider magic not as a tool, but as a relationship, volatile, intimate, and susceptible to betrayal. And if betrayal is possible, then so too is forgiveness, though it may require more than simple use. It requires trust, ritual, and a kind of magical atonement that no spell can shortcut. For those still skeptical, let them hold a wand that has been scorned. Let them feel the hot pulse beneath their fingers, the hesitation in the incantation, the misfire that is not quite a mistake, but something else, an emotional flinch from an object that should not be capable of feeling. Let them look into the wand's core if they dare, and try to say with certainty that it feels nothing. They will fail. Jealousy, then, is not the flaw of a wand, but a testament to its bond. A wand that does not react to betrayal may simply not care, and that, according to Ollivander, is far worse. The wand that does not protest, he once said, may have never truly chosen you. Number 25. Every wand has a unique signature. No two wands are the same, and their individuality extends far beyond their physical appearance. The wood, the core, the length, the flexibility, all of these elements come together to create something deeply personal, something that defines how magic flows from the wizard's soul through the wand and into the world. It's not just a channel, it's a partner, a co-creator of spells, and perhaps even a silent composer. Much like handwriting reveals the quirks of its writer, wands leave behind a trace of their presence in the spells they cast. And these traces are far more than a shimmer of light or the color of a spark. They form a signature as vivid and distinct as the person wielding the wand. When Harry Potter cast Expelliarmus, the spell was more than a simple disarming charm. It became an extension of who he was, defensive, instinctive, and pure-hearted. Observers noted the telltale crimson shimmer of light that always accompanied his casting, the kind that flickered like the last glow of a setting sun, honest and raw. But when Severus Snape performed the exact same incantation, the effect was startlingly different. There was barely any visible light, only a sharp rush of force that seemed to hum with suppressed intensity. It was pale, cold and clinical, and yet undeniably powerful. The contrast wasn't just in the magic, it was in the wand, the wizard, and the unspoken harmony between them. Wand lore, that ancient and shadowy branch of magic, explains that wands develop preferences, but few understand the depth of this truth. Over time, a wand doesn't just learn to obey its master, it learns to express them. The more aligned a wizard is with their wand, the more pronounced the wand's signature becomes. That's why the Patronus of Nymphadora Tonks, when she was in love with Remus Lupin, changed form, not simply because of emotion, but because her wand had come to reflect her shifting heart. Love, heartbreak, ambition, rage, these all subtly change the language of magic, and the wand translates it into light, sound, and movement. Consider the dueling club incident in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. When Harry and Draco Malfoy faced each other with wands drawn, both used the same spell, Serpensortia. Yet the manifestations were entirely different. Draco's spell conjured a large, coiling black serpent, thick-bodied and aggressive, with gleaming fangs and a whip-like tail. It looked menacing and crude, a weapon conjured by a boy used to commanding power. Harry's attempt to counter, though incomplete, had a different texture. His magic, even when faltering, carried a certain fluidity, a hint of empathy. It wasn't just that the spell was imperfect, it was that the wand was trying to mirror a boy who didn't truly want to harm. Luna Lovegood, whose wand was crafted from unknown wood and with an equally mysterious core, had a magical style all her own. Her charms often seemed whimsical, airy and elegant, like poetry performed in wandwork. Levicorpus, a spell typically resulting in a violent yank of a person by the ankle, looked entirely different when performed by Luna. Instead of a sudden jolt, there was a gentle lift, as though the person was being lifted by a breeze. Her wand softened the harshness of magic, transforming it into something dreamlike. It wasn't less effective, only more nuanced, filtered through a lens of compassion and imagination. Hermione Granger's wand, 10 3/4 inches, vine wood with a dragon heartstring core, expressed an entirely different nature. Precision was its defining characteristic. When she cast spells, there was a sharpness to them, like ink drawn with a quill on parchment, clean, exact, undeniable. The sparks from her wand were sometimes golden, sometimes a sharp white blue, but always precise in their trajectory and form. In Deathly Hallows, when she modified her parents' memories, the spell's light didn't flicker or drift. It moved in a smooth arc, quiet and solemn, as though the wand understood the weight of her decision. Ron Weasley's early wand, a hand-me-down of 14 inches, willow with a unicorn hair core, frequently misfired, not due to Ron's lack of talent, but because the wand had never truly accepted him. Its handwriting was shaky, uncertain, and often fraught with unintended consequences. But once he acquired his own wand, made of chestnut with a dragon heartstring, his magic gained a warmth and loyalty that hadn't been there before. Lumos glowed like a hearth fire. Aguamenti streamed in wide, full arches. His magic became full-bodied, confident, even a little clumsy, just like Ron himself. When Albus Dumbledore cast spells, especially with the Elder Wand, the magic carried a sound, a hum, not quite music, but something close. Observers described it as a vibration that made the bones feel warm, a kind of resonance that lingered in the air long after the spell was cast. The Elder Wand, being centuries old and vastly experienced, had absorbed the magical echoes of many powerful wizards, but under Dumbledore's hand it expressed something entirely new. Wisdom without arrogance, power without cruelty. In Half-Blood Prince, the moment he conjured fire to protect Harry in the cave, the flames bloomed like petals, rising in controlled waves of golden-orange light that neither burned nor smoked. It was artistry, and the wand's signature was unmistakable. Sirius Black's wand, likely crafted before his imprisonment, bore the wildness of its owner. His spells burst with a kind of reckless fury, quick to ignite and hard to contain. Bombarda would crash like thunder, and even a simple actio seemed to whip the summoned object with force. There was no subtlety, no restraint, only raw emotion that thundered through the wand like a storm. And yet, in tender moments, like when he soothed Buckbeak, the magic softened, his wand pulsing with silvery threads instead of flames. The same wood, the same core, the same spell, yet shaped differently by mood and memory. Bellatrix Lestrange's wand, a 12 3/4-inch walnut wand with a dragon heartstring core, was uncomfortably curved, and her magic followed suit. Every spell she cast seemed to twist in the air, slashing rather than flowing. Crucio under her hand crackled like a whip, and even protective charms carried a sinister undertone. Her wand didn't emit sparks so much as scars in the fabric of the air. It cut through the world, sharp and serpentine. The wand did not resist its owner. It gloried in her madness. They were made for each other, and their handwriting was jagged, cruel, and unforgettable. Neville Longbottom's journey with his wand was symbolic of his transformation. For years he used his father's wand, loyal, noble, but foreign. His spells were stuttering, half-hearted, and often unsuccessful. But when he finally acquired his own wand, made of cherry and unicorn hair, something shifted. During the Battle of Hogwarts, his impedimenta struck true, and his reducto shattered walls. The magic, once hesitant, now surged forward with conviction. The wand's signature was courageous but humble, soft-edged but unstoppable. It was the script of a quiet hero who had finally found his voice. Minerva McGonagall's wand, a firm blackthorn specimen, had an old-world sharpness. Her spells moved like military commands. Sharp, linear, and unyielding. Transfigurations shimmered into place with a clap, like steel folding into silk. In Order of the Phoenix, when she transformed desks into pigs, there was no noise, no excessive light, only clean, immediate change. Her wand didn't dazzle, it delivered. The magical equivalent of serif font on parchment, old-fashioned, dignified, and final. Even among the twins, Fred and George Weasley, whose wands were nearly identical, subtle differences emerged. Fred's magic always had a slightly more aggressive edge. Periculum flared brighter, Incendio roared louder. George, by contrast, had a smoother, more mischievous signature. His fireworks curled in the air, longer, leaving whimsical patterns. The twin bond may have mirrored their spell preferences, but their wands still picked up on their innermost personalities. That's why their pranks were never the same. They came from different creative sources, filtered through wands that knew their secrets. Dolores Umbridge, with her short, stubby wand of birch and dragon heartstring, displayed magic that was as unpleasant as her personality. Her Petrificus Totalis snapped like a bone breaking, and her protective charms buzzed with tension rather than calm. The pink bow she adorned her wand with couldn't mask the cruelty in its signature. The magic always had a sickly hue, tinged with a sickening shade of pinkish grey, like candy gone rancid. Even her quills, enchanted to cut into skin, bore her wand's sharp, bitter strokes. Gilderoy Lockhart's wand was flashier than most, but its magic was inconsistent. Because Lockhart himself was a fraud, his wand reflected that lack of authenticity. His spells sparkled and shimmered, yes, but they rarely did what they were supposed to. Obliviate had a bright golden glow, but its effects were chaotic and unstable. Even the wand seemed to be compensating, overperforming to hide its master's inadequacy. The handwriting of his magic was showy, yes, but hollow, like glitter on cheap parchment. Fleur Delacour's wand, crafted from rosewood and containing a velar hair, produced some of the most graceful magic seen during the Triwizard Tournament. Her Accio was a dance, not a demand. Her shield charms arched around her like a veil of silk. The light from her wand shimmered in pale hues, silvers, opals, soft blues. But beneath the beauty was strength. Her wand didn't just reflect charm, it whispered of legacy, of ancient power and fierce pride. The velar hair, temperamental by nature, shaped every spell into something breathtaking and deadly. Victor Crumb's wand, short and thick, was like a chisel. His spells were blunt, powerful, and direct. Stupefy came from him like a hammer blow, and his defensive magic was dense and immovable. There was no elegance in his magic, but a certainty. The wand didn't craft, it carved, and the signature it left behind was bold, monochromatic, and resolute. The shape of his magic was that of discipline and endurance. Every wand in the wizarding world sings its own tune, writes its own letter, paints its own stroke, and those who listen closely will hear not just the spell, but the soul behind it. The colors, the sounds, the rhythm. These are not just aesthetics, they are identity. The wand, in the end, is not just a tool, but a mirror. And every spell is a message written in a language only that wand and its chosen master could ever write. Number 26. Some wands sing during creation. In the quietest corners of Ollivander's wand shop, where centuries of dust and magic hang like fog in the air, there lies a truth so seldom spoken that only the most experienced wand-makers have ever witnessed it. This truth hums through the fibers of the rarest wands. An almost imperceptible vibration. A tremble not of wood, but of power recognizing its vessel. It is the phenomenon known among wand-makers as a singing wand. Though not documented in books or taught in schools, the legend persists through whispers passed down from master to apprentice. It is not the kind of magic that lends itself to spectacle, but rather the kind that curls around destiny in silence. It is said that when the right core meets the perfect wood, something deeper than compatibility occurs. The wand sings. Say? The sound is not quite music and not quite noise. It is a resonance, a shimmer in the air, a song only the most sensitive can hear. Garrick Ollivander, widely regarded as the finest wand-maker in Britain, once confessed to his apprentice that he had heard such singing only 3 times in his long career. One of those times was in 1991 when he crafted a wand of holly and phoenix feather, 11 inches long, supple and powerful. As he inserted the feather into the core of the newly carved holly, the room shifted. The dust in the air froze in place. A subtle hum arose, not from his tools, not from the wood, but from the wand itself. He described it later as a whisper from the fabric of fate. This was the wand that would eventually choose Harry Potter. It was not only the singing that disturbed Ollivander, it was the memory of the twin, that Phoenix had given only 2 feathers. The other resided in a wand of yew held by Tom Riddle, Lord Voldemort. The singing of Harry's wand didn't just signal rare harmony, it foreshadowed a clash written into the core of magic itself. Ollivander, shaken, kept the holly wand away from customers for weeks. He checked it repeatedly. It hummed softly whenever he held it. He began to suspect that it was waiting, watching, anticipating the boy who would come. "Curious," he would later mutter to Harry. "Very curious." Wand lore is a precise and unforgiving art. While magical theory can explain why certain woods respond better to certain cores, it cannot explain the singing. Willow paired with unicorn hair is known for loyalty, ash with dragon heartstring for stubborn strength, but when a wand sings, something deeper than magical compatibility is at work. It is soulcraft. Only a handful of wand makers across Europe ever speak of it. Eduardus Limet, the reclusive wand maker of Belgium, once noted in a private letter that a wand that sings is not built, it is born. Each singing wand is a child of serendipity. The wood must have been cut at the right moon phase. The core must have come from a creature in a rare moment, a phoenix feather shed in grief, a unicorn hair collected during an eclipse, a dragon heartstring taken willingly. These are not ingredients, they are stories. When 2 stories align perfectly, the result is not just a magical tool, but a living echo of something eternal. Ollivander believed that singing wands held prophecy in their grain. They remember futures, he once wrote in a now-lost journal. Wand makers treat such events with reverence. A singing wand is never sold quickly. It is tested, watched, even listened to in the dead of night. There are accounts from Russia where the wand maker Igor Semyonovich swore he once heard a wand sing in his dreams. He claimed the wand had chosen its master long before the child was born. When the boy came to his shop 12 years later, the wand glowed faintly before even touching his hand. It was the only wand Semyonovich ever sold that came wrapped in silver thread, a symbol of fate in his tradition. Harry's wand sang even before he walked into Ollivander's. The moment he touched it, the wand responded not with a spark, but with a gust of wind that knocked over a shelf. The air was thick with golden dust. The hum had returned. It seemed, Ollivander later confessed, as though the wand had known him longer than I had. The books never say it, but the wand sang softly as Harry left the shop. Even Voldemort's wand, powerful as it was, never sang. It hissed, perhaps. It pulsed, but it did not sing.